Hey everybody, this is Christopher Brower here with Daily Motor, and today we're driving a 2022 Lexus ES300 Hybrid F-Sport. A little bit of a weird spec on this car. You don't really think of the hybrid being a sporty model, but this one has been spec'd to be an F-Sport. So this white F-Sport badge, funny enough, means F-Sport handling. So this Lexus ES Hybrid has a sport-tuned suspension. Kind of strange, and we'll have to see how that performs out on the Daily Motor test route. But I've got to say, before I get to anything else, I love the look of this most recent generation of Lexus ES. I think that they've done a fantastic job, and I think that it looks just fabulous. Definitely a step up from ES's in generations past. And speaking of generations past, the ES has been around for so long. In fact, it's been around for about 30 years. Late 80s, early 90s, when Lexus first came to America, the ES and the LS was all that they had. So the ES name has been around for quite some time now, and it's got quite a reputation to uphold. Overall, a really nice car. More of like the old man spec Lexus, except this one isn't because it's an F-Sport. It's very strange. But we've got lots of dark chrome around this car. We've got black wheels, of course, those F-Sport badges. And being that this is a hybrid, we've got blue in our Lexus badge, and we've got blue on our 300H badge as well. Power operated trunk on this particular car. And tons of trunk room. Got a lot of space back here. No spare wheel, but you do get a tool kit. And that's kind of it. And a snow scraper. That doesn't come with the car. We've got tie downs here. If you want to hold something from moving around in the boot, although that doesn't seem very secure. Anyways, we do have a ski chute as well as a pass-through if you need to put skis or golf clubs or anything in here that won't quite fit. But I think with how big this trunk is, you could probably fit some golf clubs back here. Pretty impressive space. Now, if you want, you can shut this by yourself if you need to get it closed quickly and it doesn't feel like it's resisting you at all. But of course, we have a button right here since it's a power trunk, and it'll do the whole thing for you. Lovely. That isn't lovely. Ooh. Let's step in the back seat here. Pretty simple spec here, just some black leather. Perforated, of course, and Lexus always does such a nice job making soft leather. This is pretty soft leather in here, and it's even softer on these front seats, but still good quality here in the back seat. Massive armrest here with cup holders. And here's that pass-through I was talking about. There you go. My 2003 IS300 has something very similar. You'd think at this point they would just make it so you could fold the seats down, but unless I'm stupid and missing something, you still can't. Yeah. Otherwise in here, we've got a couple overhead lights. Is that one going on? It is. And no wood trim in here, being that this is an F-Sport. We've got aluminum trim, nice white stitching here on the door. Soft leather still on these door panels. Really nice, and not to mention all of this legroom. I have an insane amount of legroom back here. Look at this. I mean, this is a fantastic... I mean, you could like Uber Black with this car. That's how much legroom I have back here. It's crazy how much legroom they give you in the ES now. And also, I mean, I would be so content back here in any situation. 12-volt charger and a couple of, USB-Cs. Okay. Thought maybe those would be regular USBs, but we've got a couple USB-C ports. If you want regular USBs, you have to sit up front because that's what we have up there. Nice material on those handles too. And a black headliner in here to complete that F-Sport look. Give you a sneak peek of the front before we go on and sit up there. Really, really attractive layout up front as well. So let's go up and check that out. Up here, the first thing that you notice is this massive 12.3-inch infotainment screen, which is now a touchscreen. Yes, very excellent things. You no longer have to use the trackpad, though they still give you the trackpad, which is a little strange. I guess it's similar to BMW's system with the little knob where, you know, you can more easily use it while you're driving. You don't have to have your hand up here, but I found this to be very irritating because, well, let me show you why. So yesterday I had my phone plugged in, and I didn't have it in the center console like I do now. I had my phone plugged in right here, and the cord was over here, and I was very confused as I was driving down the road why the car was making phone calls, but it makes sense now because look what the cord does. It was jiggling about, and you know, even just the smallest movement, it moved itself over to phone. It clicked phone, which I can't get it to do now. It's making me look like a liar. It clicked phone, and then it called my girlfriend. And I had to explain to her, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you, it was the car. Very, very strange thing there, but we'll just stick this in here, which also has a wireless charger, which by the looks of things looks slippery, but it's actually quite grippy, but I'm not going to use it because my phone is corded in for Apple CarPlay. Just shut that. Quite a clever thing here. We've got a very deep cup holder, but if you want a more shallow one, you simply push this button here and it gives you a more shallow one. You can put that back up. It also works as a place to put your phone, but just make sure it's not corded and messing with the trackpad. EV mode and auto hold buttons here below the shifter. Quick access buttons for the menu here to scroll. If you're curious to get a more thorough tour of the infotainment, make sure you check out Charlie's sound system test and infotainment video on this car. Also, if you're interested in fuel economy, make sure to check out our other videos that will be linked below as well. Before we take off on the road today, I just want to talk about a couple more things, and that is the lovely display of buttons we have on this ES. We've got heated and cooled seats down here, and an auto setting as well for your seats. 2 settings for the heated steering wheel too. Got a rear sunshade back there. Very lovely. I think we'll leave that up for the review. Separate climate control panel here with nice switches and buttons all along. And it's nice to have a separate panel. But if you hadn't yet noticed, this thing has a CD player still. How Lexus is that? That's fantastic that they still incorporate a CD player in it. It demonstrates what sort of market they're trying to reach with this car and the demographic of people that they're trying to appeal to. I don't mind the CD player. I still like to pop in an old Avril Lavigne CD every now and then and jam out to Skater Boy as I'm driving down the highway. So I'm not mad about that. I don't think there's any issue. I still have a clock up here as well with, I was going to say a carbon fiber face, but it's more of a intricate design than that. I like that they've still kept the clock and it's integrated now behind the glass of the infotainment. So that's quite interesting. Up here we've got our drive mode selectors like the LC500 and the LFA, except this car is nothing like either of those, but gloss over that. Steering wheel mounted paddle shifters and also an F Sport badge indicated here. This cluster also moves. Check that out. To get to some of our settings, or you can just drive with it in this mode if you'd like. You can toggle all the things that you want to see here on the left. I like to drive with my cluster in the middle though. That's been a super cool feature. We've had that around now for, probably 8 or 9 years. It first appeared on, well, I think the LFA, but then in production form on a more mass-produced car on the 3rd generation Lexus ES. All right, well, what do you say we take this ES300 hybrid out on the Daily Motor test route and see what it's like to drive? Now, keep in mind, I want to circle back around to what I mentioned briefly earlier, that this is an ES hybrid. So it's the most efficient Lexus ES, but it's also an F Sport, which means it has the sportiest package. So it's a very strange spec. An F Sport means more than it used to. It used to just be a appearance pack with different bumpers and wheels and things, but now you actually get a sport tune suspension. When you see this white badge, it means F Sport handling, and that's what this car has. So it's definitely strange. You'd think in a car like this, you'd really just want to have a soft suspension in your ES hybrid to be nice and economical and comfortable, but in this situation, we're spec'd in a very strange manner. So we'll be able to see how it rides, but also review the hybrid powertrain as well. See how it all fits together. Speaking of that hybrid powertrain, it is A 2.5 liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine, of course backed by an electric motor, for a combined power output of 215 horsepower. That's plenty adequate. It's not the smoothest powertrain I've ever felt, though. It sometimes shakes and shudders when you take off. When you're actually driving after you've already taken off, it's pretty smooth, but yeah. When you're accelerating hard, it's not very smooth. Driving down the road, though, the switch between EV and internal combustion is flawless and seamless. Honestly, if it weren't for that EV light there to indicate that I'm driving in EV mode, I wouldn't even notice this thing switching back and forth. That's how smooth it is. Also got a sport setting for the CVT. I think I can pretend shift gears. Yeah, I can also do that with the paddle shifters. All right, let's see how it hustles around the roundabout here. Yeah, feels pretty tight. Tight steering as well. And just a nice feeling steering wheel in the hands. I always like what they do with these F-Sport steering wheels. We've got nice perforated leather here on the outside and white stitching. And the paddle shifters feel nice as well. I don't have any reason to use them because they aren't real. They don't do anything. But they do feel nice. They have pretty consistent feel to those on any other Lexus vehicle. Let's bring it in here to oversteer. Oh, yes. Hugs pretty nicely around there. Yeah, you can hustle this thing around. It doesn't feel out of its element when you're driving spiritedly. And back down into EV mode. I believe you have to be going 25 to use EV mode. So let's test that out. There it is. So EV mode is only available under 25 miles per hour, and if you crest that into 26 miles an hour, you can no longer use it. So it's really just useful for city driving or driving around your neighborhood at night. Or I guess it wouldn't have to be at night, but you understand what I'm saying. And honestly, over that rough ride section, the Sport Tune suspension isn't crashy or really even bumpy. They've still managed to keep the Sport Tune suspension pretty comfortable in this thing, so I can't imagine how nice the one without this suspension rides. It's most likely fantastic. This one is good. I'm pleasantly surprised with how nice the F-Sport tuned suspension behaves in all settings, just from a daily driving standpoint to being pretty comfortable here on the road, and also going over those bumpy sections there, and also being able to handle pretty nicely as well. The seats also, as I mentioned, they're nice and soft, they're comfortable, they're nice to sit in. This car overall, its main focus is comfort, which is why I thought it was strange when they put an F-Sport package on it that was more than just visual things, but it is a very comfortable car. This would just be a fantastic highway cruiser, a fantastic daily driver. The EPA rates this car at 44 miles per gallon on the highway. And make sure to stay tuned for Charlie's fuel economy test of this car to find out what it actually gets. Go ahead and merge onto the highway here. We're going to select sport mode. Yeah, this thing hangs on nice. Coming down into some water. A little bit of understeer there, but it hangs on nice, it rotates nice, and it feels really planted. Also improved throttle response there with sport mode. Got me merged onto the highway with no problem. Let's try out eco mode. That's got me in EV mode there at 70 miles per hour. Excellent. So So this ES also has a good amount of driver aids. We've got steering assist as well as a lane keep assist system. So steering assist is active. Let's see how it does. Let's just put me out of a lane. Oh, there we go. Lane centering assist. Oh, okay, okay. That was my fault. I didn't have all the settings right. Oh, it's mad. Okay, so a decent system. You could trust it. I would trust it going in a straight line if you had to take your jacket off going down the road or something. I don't think I'd necessarily trust it as much as a Hyundai or a Kia going around a corner. But it's nice to just have those systems integrated. For if you do need to take your hands off the wheel for a couple seconds, you can trust the car to take over for you. I mean, overall, this is one of those cars where it's hard to come to a conclusion because it's really just nice and it's luxurious, and I don't really have anything bad to say about it other than the fact that the touchpad is a little bit idiotic now, especially that we have a touchscreen. Get rid of the touchpad. We don't need it anymore. Price-wise, this ES300 Hybrid F Sport is about 46 grand. I don't think that's outrageous in any way. This is a nice businessman's express, and in the way that a businessman that cares about being comfortable and also cares about being efficient. It would be a fantastic highway commuter if you have a long 100-mile each-way commute. I mean, this thing would just be fantastic for that. And you wouldn't have to go all the way up to the Lexus LS, which is $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 more than this car, depending on how you spec it. The ES is just really nice and honest because it's not going out of its way to be sporty. It just gloss over the fact that this has enough sport suspension, gloss over that part. It doesn't go out of its way to be overly sporty, and I like that about the ES. And you can have this in more of a normal spec. You can have it in old man tan with tan leather and wood trim and things like that, and that's how I'd spec my ES, because that's the purpose of this car. It's not trying to be sporty, it's just focused on being luxurious and reliable. Lexus has legendary pedigree for being reliable, and so does Toyota, of course. So that's really just what this car is. It's fantastic. I think it looks great. The interior layout's very attractive. I mean, this screen, it reacts nicely. It looks great. This is a great choice for someone to choose over a BMW 5 Series or a Mercedes E-Class if you really just don't care about something that also is so focused on being sporty nowadays. This is pure luxury, pure comfort, and it's great. I think it's fantastic that Lexus still produces the ES and has done since like 1990. All right, guys, and that's going to wrap up our review today of this 2022 Lexus ES300 Hybrid F Sport handling. It's a little bit of a mouthful, but a really solid car, refreshing every now and then to drive a nice luxury sedan, and especially nice to drive one that's really just focused on being luxurious and comfortable. All right, let's do one last little walk around. Oh, check rear seat. Yep, it's still there. Okay, one last little walk around of this ES Hybrid, and that'll do it for us today. All right, guys, well, comment down below what you think of the ES. How would you spec your ES? I'd go non-F Sport, 3.5 liter V6, wood trim. I'd go full old man with mine, but I will say this one does look fantastic as it is. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for watching. This has been Christopher Brower with Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.